Sì, ma che cazzato è? Vabbè, che devi dire? Allora, hello musici, let's continue our journey together with Marburg, the treatise on the fugue, and we are about to start section 11. Section 11 is miscellaneous fugue subject. So let's check that the audio is perfect. Yes. So that's the microphone I'm using. It could even be a little higher actually, if I put it in a better way. Let's do this. Okay, and then the keyboard. So section 11, miscellaneous fugue subjects. Table 26. Table 26. Now, here the figure 1. So let's play the example. Figure 1. Figure 1. Re mi fa ta 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 do ta sol fa. Very interesting. These parallel unisons, of course. It's I mean, I guess it's a mistake from the transcription. Okay. Re mi fa mi re mi re sol la fa la sol la re la sol fa. Here. That's interesting because it say here the dominant the dominant A in the second bar of the Führer is answered with the second degree of the tonic E. So dominant A is answered with the second degree E. It's the second degree of D minor, of course, which is occasioned by the exact transposition of the fugue subject into the key of the dominant. In example, in the figure 2, on the contrary, this dominant is A. This dominant A is now answered with a tonic D because the melody in the commas is organized differently. Now, let's see the second example, part B. Re mi fa re mi fa ta ra ta la fa so fa mi la la do ra fa la do su do fa mi re sol fa mi. So here the A is answered by the D. Why? Because the commas is organized differently. Here, let's say it's more Aeolus again. It's more Aeolian modus. Why? Because we follow the solmization species sol la fa or re mi fa mi re mi sol la fa la sol la re la sol la fa or re mi fa mi re mi la sol. So here we keep the same solmization syllables. Here in the second example, it's different because this is the third degree. This is the third degree of the minor mode. So we should expect we should expect what? We should expect the third degree of the minor mode, but the highest point in this case is this. So Rameau wanted to keep the relationship 5-1 here. And so he had to modify this. He could even do sonata, but that would be dissonant G. So in that case, can make sense. It's another option. Both examples involve a stretto and therefore canonic imitation. In the latter example, note 2 Note too that the second DE in the dux has been changed into a unison AA in the comments by doubling the doubling of the two beginning notes. Yes, what I said here before. Canonic imitation, yes, because the subject la sol fa joins where the comes enters when the dux hasn't finished yet. Even here, re mi fa re la sol fa mi la re la fa la fa la sol fa mi fa mi la re. Here it is. Good. Then interesting to notice that here actually this is ending on the first degree if this is the end of the subject, and here it's ending on the fourth degree of the minor. It should end on the fifth degree to be precise. So sol fa mi la re la fa fa mi la re, to be fa mi, because we should be in the dominant point. But he wanted to make a cadence to G, so that's why, basically, logical. Now, next example, so figure 3. Figure 3, yes. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, sol. Here we stay in the hexachord. We follow the hexachord, so it's more modal. This one is we will say mixolydian according to the terminology used by Marburg. Figure 3 here. Here the fugue subjects are completely organized according to the Ionian. Yes, Ionian. I mean Ionian. Ionian mode. According to the present day C major, one could have also set the comments in the following way. Sol, la, sol. Why? Because a fifth higher, we should have D. Pa, 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 pa. So, pa, pam, pam, pa, 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 da. Sol, sol, la, sol. And because if we consider this to be G major, we have to end with the first degree because the subject is ending with the fifth degree. And so in C major, sol, sol, la, sol, la. Okay, no, according to the present day C major, so that would be okay, G, because that's the second degree. But the beginning should be different, so this should be a C, because degree 1. Sol, la, sol. I find actually this version much better and pleasant. If one wants to answer the second degree D with the second degree of the dominant A instead of a dominant G at the close, this will be possible based on the freedoms allowed in an imperfect cadence. In this example, this subject will be best if one made the comex into the dux and vice versa. This setting corresponds better to the rules of the dux because the key is shown more clearly. Since, in truth, if one begins with the dominant G, it cannot be known for certain in which key the fugue should actually be where the other voice enters. Note also that this fugue subject closes contrary to the rule on a weak, unstressed beat. True. How can we finish with A? Pam, pam, pa, pam. Let's see how we can do that. Actually, it's what we sol, sol, la, sol. It's what we have in another version. I just wrote this in the wrong way. Pam pam pa pam, but the way pam pam pa pam. Okay, the way suggested by Marburg is pam to pam pam pa 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 pam pam pa pam, in order to end with G. But ending with A would be better because of the imperfect cadence. And so here it is. Okay, next example. But the other thing is saying is, let's make this the dux so that the answer is at the 5th degree. Perfect. Dux, and so this would be the comes. This way, it's much better. The relationship, it's much more clear. Even though, you know, if you're writing a fugue which has a modal setting, can be totally okay. Next example, let's see. Figure number 4. Here, there are again unstressed ending of the subject on weak beats. Why is Marburg saying that? Because Marburg said that usually it's good for a subject to end on the downbeat instead of an unstressed beat. So, here it is. And the comment should be, so that's a treble clef, yes. Let's see what's happening. So we are in D minor, and that's why we have degree 1. The answer, on the other hand, starts with degree 5. Okay. Now the subject finishes with this degree 4, but what we have to notice above all is the lip 1, 5 we have in this point, because here it's like if we are in D minor, and so pam pam pa, dan, da, da. Marburg wants A, so D, which is degree 1, and so we have 1 5 answered by 5 1. The exact transposition of this will be, but this will lead up to that note. Otherwise, could even be like that. But in order to keep this lip, in order to answer 5 1 to 1 5, Marburg said, okay, so I mean the composer of this excerpt, we have a step. So we'll put a step here. Then the following passage. That's interesting because here we have a third and here we have a fourth. Here we have a second and a second. So why this? Why? What's the reason of this? Let's investigate. If this is C sharp, yes, is the 7th degree of A minor, but if you think it as the 5th degree of the dominant chord, the 3rd degree of the dominant chord, F sharp is the 3rd degree of the tonic chord. So that's why it could make sense, this kind of answer. Is the only option? No, there are other options. For example, could work. Why not? 5. Let's see Leotard. Another example. But it finishes. There's a figure 12 here. What the fuck? No. Here it is. Do, re, mi, fa, sol. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, do, la, la. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, do, re, mi, fa, sol, do, la, la. Wait, 1. Today I'm very tired. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, do, la, sol, fa, mi, do. Okay, the dux. And then in the answer, so we have degree 1. If you're in C major, yes, the comes starts on degree 5. Do, re, mi, fa, sol. So it's not answering degree 1 with degree 5, as you can see. There's no do, re, mi, fa, do, la, sol, fa, mi, do. One should expect this answer. Do, re, mi, fa, in order to have 1 5 answered by 5 1. Let's see what's the explanation, what Marburg says. Because the dominant G in the second bar leaps down to the tonic note C here, okay, the comes could also begin as in figure 6 with a compressed progression. Where is figure 6? Exactly. Do, re, mi, fa, do. Right, what I've just said. Since the dux, however, rises stepwise up to the dominant, this could also be imitated note for note, as in figure 5, because it is in the middle of the piece, and in order to make the melody more similar, especially since the key does not suffer. So, if you want to keep the fact that the subject is ascending that way by stepwise motion, you can do this little adjustment. Let's say you can go against the rules, and you can, for this reason, do a note per note transposition. Okay, it's a poetic license. It works as well. It works very nice, very well. As a result, the dominant could be answered with a second of the tonic. It also seems that the two closing note B, G could be answered more regularly with E, C, but since the harmony at the first answer at the answers F sharp D is understood as F sharp D as D, F sharp A and C, and therefore the modulation is not such that one can get stuck in D major, such freedoms are permitted in similar cases to pleasure, taste, and the melody. Let's see what we want to say. La la, sol fa mi do. Sol fa mi do, sol fa mi do, sol fa mi do. So it's saying that because this could be thought, not like an ending in D major, but as the D major chord of G. So the fifth degree chord. Let's use just a little Roman numeral. The fifth degree chord of what? Of G major, so of the fifth degree. It's totally fine here that we have the fifth degree of the first degree. So G major to C major as D major stay to G. So this relationship could work. Okay, let's see the next example. So that we study this table in this video. Dux by Matteson with 2 A's. La, la, re, fa, sol, fa, mi. Answer. La, la, mi, fa, sol, mi, re. Interesting. Here we have another option. So, fa, sol, mi, re. This, let's say, helps us to have the conclusion according to the rules of the modern of modern, let's say, of the modern minor key. Why? Because we have degree 5 followed by degree 1, and the opposite, degree 1 followed by degree 5. Then the subject is ending with degree 5, so the dux, the comes will end with degree 1. That's perfect. Another possibility, in order to have an imperfect cadence, would be to end with B, so the second degree of the tonic key. The tonic key is A. Both the first and second comes close correctly. The first because the tonic note of the dominant key The first because the tonic note of the dominant key, answers according to the rule. The second because in such imperfect cadences as here, the second of the tonic can answer the dominant in order to alter the melody less. There is no rule without exception. True. Now, next example, let's see, figures 8 and 9. Let's play both 8 and 9 by Matheson, 8 and 9. So, example 8 in D minor, Dux, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Sol, Fa, Mi, Re, Mi, Re. Okay, and the comments, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Sol, Fa, Mi, Re, Mi, Re. So this is a note per note transposition. The point is that the subject is starting from degree 1, the Dux, and is arriving to degree 5. So here we are starting on degree 5, and we should arrive to degree 1 because we are in the smaller part of the octave, in the diatessaron. In order to do this, we would compress the notes and do Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, Sol, Fa, Mi, Re, Mi, Re. But the subject, as you can see, so it's very forced. It's like denatured. It doesn't have anymore is nature of ascending pentacle. So in that case, it's better to do as Matheson did. Let's see. Because that was figure 9, yes. Figures 8 and 9, the comments in figure 8 is completely correct. The melody of the Dux remains unaltered in the tonic. Thus, it needs only to be transposed note for note into the key of the dominant, since there is no leap from the two beginning notes, D and A. One may, in good circumstances, imitate the stepwise progression of the Dux with exactly the same intervals in a transposed key of the comments, especially if you have the stepwise note, the stepwise connection in the fifth. The answer is in figure 9 is not as good because the melody, it has been completely changed through. When transposed identical passages, so sequences, occur in a subject, so when transposed sequences occur in a subject, as here with A, G, F, and E, and G, F, D, E in the second and the third bar of the Dux, La, La, Sol, Fa, Mi, Re, Mi. So it's talking about the fact that we have a sequence, like in the second and the third bar of the Dux, and the comes. No, and the Dux. One must be even more careful with the melody if both parts of the fugue, the Dux and the comes, should resemble each other. When transposed sequences occur in a subject, as here with La, Sol, Fa, Mi, Re, Mi, one must be even more careful with the melody if both parts of the fugue, the Dux and the comes, should resemble each other. The rule that the tonic note, let's read the asterisk. The rule that the tonic note and dominant must also answer each other in the middle of a piece is indeed only given so that one does not exceed the key or make foreign digressions. As soon as these are no longer issues, i.e. in the middle of a piece after the main keys has already been defined, the exception to the rule apply at once. So once you have established the key at the beginning, then these exceptions, you have a lot of freedom, okay, after the first exposition, let's say. Then, the subject in figure 10 of this table is an entirely different case, where the D leaps, but figure 10, okay, we have to play it before. So this is Re, La, Mi, Sol, Fa, Mi, Re, re, sol, mi, sol, fa, mi, re. In that case, yes, there is 1, 5, a leap, and then we have 5, 1, and in this point, this stays in the tonic, so in the first degree, D minor. So this part stays in, let's say this section actually stays in A minor. So A, re, the fifth degree. Is an entirely different case where the D leaps upwards to the A, and since the rules must certainly be observed in the comes, since the rules must be certainly observed in the comes. If in this last example one makes the comes into the dux, so if in this last example one makes the comes into the dux and vice versa, so let's say that this is the dux now. If this is the dux, the comes, so we will be, first of all, we will be in A minor, and it stays in A minor. So the comes will be in E minor, re, re, sol, fa, mi, re, will be like that. And vice versa, which may happen without harm. Then the third leap D, B in the new dux is transformed into the fourth leap A, E in the new comes. Let's see if this is the dux. Mi, mi, pa, ta. So it's saying that the third leap DB will be transformed into the fourth leap A, E. Okay, but without changing the key, because I was thinking about that starting from A minor, and so the answer at its fifth degree in E minor, but remaining in A minor, yes, okay. Remaining in D minor, yes, okay. True. Figure 11. Do, sol, mi, fa, sol, do, sol, mi, fa, sol, do, fa, mi, fa, sol, do. Here it's very regular. 5, 1, 5, answered by 5, 1, and then 5, 1. Here we have 2. That's okay. So degree is 2, but ending on degree 5. Yes, 2, 5, correct. Yes. Here, the dominant G is first answered according to the rule with the tonic note C, but afterwards with the second D, because of the melody. Why? Because the melody continues ascending. If one had wanted to make this lifeless, the comment would have turned out as follows. O, fa, bi, pa, pa, po, but pam, pa, pa, pom. No, would be very bad, lifeless. Pa, fa, mi, fa, fa, do. No, we need do, fa, mi, fa, sol, do. We need this. We need the leap. So that's the solution. Thus, notice that the second degree of the tonic D, can always answer the dominant if it is also leaping, but only in the middle of a subject. Alpha, if no foreign modulation arises. Beta, if a feeble melody is prevented through it. And gamma, if the dominant occurs twice in succession, as here in the dux. If the dominant occurs twice in succession, as here in the dux. So probably it's talking about sol, the presence of 2 Gs. Sol, sol. So the first one stays under the rules 1, 5, 5, 1. The second one can freely answer can be freely answered by the second degree. There is a footnote. See table is copied without attribution from Matheson. Okay, compare Marburg 3 rules with Matheson's. Okay, we will see this when we read Matheson. Now figure 12. Sol, 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 fa, mi, re, do, fa, mi, re, do. Yes, because the real answer would be this, D and D, but because we want the fifth degree to be answered by the first degree, we do fa, mi, re, do. In figure 12, in the smaller half of the octave, the melody must always be compressed. The smaller half is the fourth, the tetrachord, the diatessaron, according to the second principle. If circumstances do not permit the melody to be retained its entirety, in the smaller half of the octave, the melody must always be compressed according to the second principle if circumstances do not permit the melody to be retained in its entirety. Yes. These circumstances are found here. The second GF is also changed into the unison CC. It's talking about this interval. Figure 13. Okay. Battiferri, what a name. Figure 13. That's very interesting because if we have the dux starting on degree 1, actually that's degree 5. So here we are in the dominant point. But that's interesting because we have to think about the beginning. We're starting now on the 5th degree, as you can see, and we are ending on the 1st degree. So our answer, our comes, should start on the 1st degree and end on the 5th degree. Indeed, what's happening. Then, this is the 3rd degree of the tonic of the 1st degree, and so we need the 3rd degree of the 5th degree, which means that the 3rd lip now is transformed into this 4th. Why? Because the real answer should start on D, but we're not in D major, or better, we are not in G major where we answer in D. We are in C major. So basically we keep the 5th lip at the beginning, and we have to transpose the first 2 notes down a step. It could work in the middle of the composition, but not at the beginning. The 3rd DF must be changed either into the 4th CG, as appears here, or one must transform the 5th GD in the 6th CA as follow. So it's saying that another possibility, indeed, because we have to change the first note, which is the most important thing, can be transformed into a do, re, fa, mi, re, do, but keeping the 5th sounds much better since we are in C major. Then, figures 14, 15, and 16, which are based on the same subject. Let's play it. Sol, mi, fa, do. Dux, sol, mi, sol, do. That's okay. Why? Here because we have 5, 1, and 5, 1. We're doing the same. 5, 7, but 1 is here, and 5. So 1, as you can see, 5, where there were 1, and 1, where there were 5, when there was 5. Then, this is the 3rd degree of the dominant, and so we have the 3rd degree of the tonic. Next example, figure 15. This is the 5th degree, and this is the 1st degree. So we need the 1st and the 5th in this place. then it's ending with the first degree and will finish with the fifth degree. B is the third degree of the dominant, and C is the third degree of the tonic, so that's perfect. One could also do F sharp, is saying, let's see, fa, mi, fa, mi, fa, mi, re, do. But let's see about the comment. Whoever does not want to answer the GB with the CE, yeah, so the GB with the C, so it's talking about the beginning. Whoever does not want to do this, here we'll have to take the C F sharp and thereby make an A diminished fifth, and thereby make an A diminished fifth from a sixth. Ah, no, make an A, no, it's not an A. Make A, that's an article. And thereby make a diminished fifth from a sixth. Instead of a sixth, you make a diminished fifth, which is not so natural. However, and belongs among the more recent freedoms. So in the middle of a composition, you can freely do that. The next examples, let's see, so 17 and 18 and 19, it says. Let's play them. Sol, re, fa, mi. Here we have degree 5, arriving to degree 3. Sol, re, fa, mi. This is degree 3 of the first degree of the tonic, and this is degree 5 of the tonic. Then, if the subject finishes with the third degree of the tonic, we'll finish with the third degree of the dominant. Then, that's the fifth degree. This fifth degree will be answered by the first degree, and that's why instead of D, we need to start with C in order to stay in the key. Re, fa, fa, re, fa. As you can see, then in the middle of the composition, you can do something else. You can do the real answer, of course. Figures 17, 18, and 19. Here we find subjects where the dux and comets can be reversed, and where one can consequently observe the change of thirds into fourths and vice versa, of fourths into thirds. Sol, re, fa, mi. Okay, so if you think that now this is the dux, so fa, re, fa, mi. In that case, this is degree 1, so will be answered by degree 5. This is degree 3 of the dominant, so in this case we have a modulating subject, and in this case the dux is not modulating. In this case, yes, it's modulating, and so we'll end on the third degree of the tonic. That's why. Yes, true. Example by Battiferri, let's see. Sol, fa, mi, sol, do, re, mi, do, re, mi, fa, mi, re, sol, do, re, mi, do, re, mi. So here degree 5 in F major is answered by degree 1. Sol, fa, mi. Then sol, do, re, mi. You see, we have 2 times degree 5 appearing in the subject. So that's why the second time degree 5 can be answered by degree 2 of the tonic key. Sol, do. This way we keep the energy of the descending fifth lip, and degree 1 will be answered by degree 5. Do, re, mi, do, re, mi. Then here we are ending with degree 3 of the tonic. And so we end with degree 3 of the dominant. Remember that that's a bass clef here. Perfect. Let's think about the bass to be the subject. 1, 2, 3. So we would have 1, 7, 1, 7, 6. That's fine. Do, re, mi, do, re. Then we would have a degree 5. So these would be answered by degree by what? By degree 5 and then 1. Perfect. Do, re, mi, do, and then this part remains unchanged. So they can work both as dukes and subjects of each other. Perfect. And so even this table is analyzed. Then in the next video, we'll analyze table 17 because there's table 17 with other interesting subjects. And there is table 18. And after table 18, there should be a chapter 4. So not a new section, but we start talking about the exposition and the development of a fugue subject. So we are almost at the end of this section. See you. Bye. Couple of minutes rest now. Okay. Hello musici, let's continue our journey together with Marburg, the treatise on the fugue. We are in section 11 and we are in the second part because we are going to analyze the next table, which is table 17. Let's see the next table. We have many other subjects here. We are in the section which is called miscellaneous fugue subject. This is the penultimate table of this section, because then there's another chapter where we start to talk about the exposition and the development of a fugue subject. So let's say that we have been analyzing, I don't know how many subjects, but that's good. Okay. Next, let's see, table 17 from here. Let's play the first one. So, Pachelbel. Sol, 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 fa, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi, re, fa, sol. Interesting. Sol, 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 fa, mi, sol, fa, mi, re, sol, re, mi, fa, re, sol, fa, sol, fa, mi, sol, fa, mi. I remember this fugue. The comments here is derived from the fourth transposition in a kind of strict mixolydian mode in G, then transposed down a step. True. And it should actually be established according to the present day manner, as in figure 2 of this table, where it in F. What does it mean? It means that we are in F major, so we are in an F key, F mixolydian in that case. This is degree 5, as you can see, which is answered by degree 1. Then sol, 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 fa, mi, sol, fa, mi. This is degree 3, as you can see, of what? Degree 3 of the first degree harmony. And since we are on the first degree harmony, this subject doesn't do any modulation, we should answer this with the 5th degree harmony. So this should be the 3rd degree of C major of the 5th degree. Fa, 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 mi, fa, sol, fa, mi, re, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi. Indeed, fa, 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 mi, fa, sol, fa, mi. Fa, 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 mi, fa, sol, fa, mi, fa, mi, re, mi, fa, mi, re. As you can see. On the other hand, this is an hexa transposition. So, very quickly, I mean, very fast, we have done it. Next, figure 3. Dux, so it's a treble clef, right? Fa, 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 mi, do, fa, 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 no, fa, dux, if there is the word dux, and you start with fa, 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 mi, do, the continuation should be something like that. Only Italians will understand. Fa, 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 mi, do, re, mi, fa, sol, mi, fa, 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 mi, do, re, mi, fa, sol, mi, fa, mi, do, re, fa, re, mi. And the comments, indeed, so we have degree 1 and then degree 7th. The comments is 5th degree, sol, 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 mi, and degree 3 of the tonic key, because here we have degree 3 of the dominant key of E major, and here degree 3 of the tonic. Do, re, mi, da, do, di, da, 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 so, ba, this should be a natural, Why? Do, re, mi, fa, do, re, mi, fa, sol, mi, fa, do. Then do, mi, do, re, fa, re, mi, do, re, mi. There's a semitone here. Do, mi, do, re, fa, re, mi, and do, re, mi, fa, sol, mi, fa, ta, 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 ta. It's strange. Re, ta, ta, re, fa, re, mi. But you know what? Because this is the 3rd degree of the this is the third degree of the major key. It's true that it can be answered by the sixth degree of the major key. It's even true that it could even finish that way. So what about something which is in a middle way, something like sol 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 ti do re di da do di da if we keep this, then it becomes very weird. The following path fa la fa should be like that. If we want to finish with the third degree of the dominant, because that's C, so the third degree of the tonic, third of the tonic, here we have to finish with the third of the dominant, so third of the fifth degree. In that specific case, we have to change that. Let's say that in both cases we are applying or one rule or the other. Let's see. The comes here is likewise derived from the fourth transposed, and in fact according to a kind of transposed mixolydian mode in G. The reason why is transposed a mixolydian despite the G sharp in the key signature, although it would have been organized according to our present day G major as it's said in the second version. Yes, G major. What the hell? Figure 3. Okay, I mean G major, which becomes A major. Yes and no. Yes and no, because at the end it's not an extra transposition, as you can see. So the rules here are applied. And this is not mixolydian. This is not mixolydian because we have the different opening, and this would be a little mistake. I mean, it's not bad, but be conscious that this fifth of the fifth is working like a little transition to E major, so it's totally fine, as we have seen in the previous video, if you remember, about we saw this thing in one of those subjects where we said this is the harmony on the fifth degree. Here it is, working as the fifth of the first, and then the fifth of the fifth, but as the chord, not as the key, like a modulation, such a modulation to that key. One thing is the chord, one thing is a modulation. This is like a chord, but the arriving point is E major, so we stay in the A major, E setting. So the second one, let's say, yes, it's true, it's organized, it's better organized according to the modern G major, to the modern tonal system, because it finishes with the third degree of the dominant, since the subject finishes on the third degree of the tonic. But even this is fine as well. Figure 4. Pay attention, we are in, so there's a sharp. In E minor, mi, re, fa, mi, re, mi, la, re, sol, fa, mi, re. In that case, let's see what's happening. The subject is pam, pa, ta, ra, ran, tan, tan. From degree 1 to degree 1. And here we start on degree 5. Ta, 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 ra, ra, ta, 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 ta. The real one, let's say the modern version, should be something like that. Ta, ta, re, fa, ta, 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 ra. Indeed, you see. Then, because it's ending, if we consider as a subject the entire line on degree 1 of the tonic, E minor, it will the modern dux will end, the modern commes will end on degree 1 of the dominant, so on degree 5. Yes. So this is more Aeolian. Let's see. Since the comments enters in close imitation stretto, it cannot happen differently than it does here. Derived from the Aeolian mode in A, transposed E Aeolian. According to our E minor, if the comments instead allows the dux to end, then according to our E minor, if the comments instead allows the dux to end the entire subject before entering, okay, so if we can put the entire subject before the comments, it must enter as in figure 5. So transpose note per note. Good. Porpora. New example by Porpora. Let's see. Nicola Porpora, a Neapolitan composer. Figure 6. The close imitation bears the blame. The close imitation bears the blame. First, that the comments does not have the proper interval in the final example. Secondly, that it does not appear in its entirety, but rather is broken off. Let me check very quickly one thing. What does it mean, blame? Biasimare, incolpare, but to blame, no. Blame as a noun. Okay, colpa, responsibility, guilt. So, the close imitation bears the guilt. Let's see what's happening. Do, sol, fa, sol, la, mi, fa, sol, re, mi. So, do, sol, do, fa, sol, la, do, fa, mi, fa, sol, re, mi, fa. Degrees 1 to 5 and 5 to 1. This makes sense. Then, when does it finish? Okay, I see why. Because here the subject seems to finish on degree 1. So we should have this ending on degree 5, which means that we would need an E natural, because this is a modulate. I mean, yes, that's a modulating subject. It could be done actually. Okay, but he's saying so far. He says another thing. He says that we have degree 6 here, which is answered by degree 2 of the main scale of B flat major. Let's see this. Let's read the explanation. The close imitation bears the blame. First, that the comments does not have the proper intervals, as in the final example, and secondly, that it does not appear in its entirety, but rather is broken off. Yes, unless you see this from another point of view, you look at this from another point of view, and you think that the subject is going to end here, and so we have a subject which is modulating 1/5, and we have this which is ending on degree 1. But in that case, we would need E natural for the modulating subject. In that case, we have degrees 5 and 1, so this would be correct. 5, 1. Do, la, mi, fa. And it's I don't like the second version. It's too much repetitive. No. I don't like this version, because if you have the subject, which is do 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 sol, pa 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 ta 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 ra ta ta ti, ta 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 ra ra ta 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 ta. I don't like to have the trill on the same notes. In that case, I would do a real answer. Do 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 ta 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 sol la do ta ta ta. It's comprehensible, but I would say I don't like this so much. But we got it. What he's saying. He's just changing this bar, or at least so because it's like if an entire bar is repeated. If we change at least these two notes into B and C, at least there's only one note which is different. Because you perceive that there is like a cut. And so I would prefer this way, at least. Okay. Boivin, these French composers are always difficult to say. Do, re, re, mi, fa, re, mi, fa, fa. What the hell? Let's see. The close imitation verse 7. Since the dux closes with the fourth degree, the comes closes with the first degree. We are in G major, but the fact that we do not have any sharp, at least indicated here in the key signature, it gives a mixolydian taste, let's say a modal taste, or a better seventh tonus taste. Do, re, 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 mi, do, re, re, mi, fa, mi, fa. The subject finishes here on the fourth degree. Re, re, mi, fa, fa. I don't know how it continues, but the fact that we have the B flat, it could sound as a seventh tonus. Because the seventh tonus, especially if it is transposed and used with a psalm, it's like a D minor. So, fa, mi, fa, sol, la, sol, fa, mi, re. So could start that way and finish on D, creating a kind of ambiguity between major and minor. Could have sense. So let's say that I'm expecting this to be a modal thing. So where we have the seventh tonus, and so that's why the answer is on the fifth degree of the seventh tonus. I would consider this to be on G that way, and so not on fourth, on G, but mixolydian. 1, 4, and then B is answered by degree 5. By degree 5, and then 1. Okay. Next example is fa, do, so, da, 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 la, sol, fa, fa, do, fa. Okay, interesting. And then there's an item. Let's see what's the commentary. Figure 8. The seventh ED here becomes the octave AA, and thus the melody is expanded according to the smaller half of the octave. Why is this happening? Because here we have the diatessaron, so the fourth, degree 1 to degree 5. We are in A major. Then we have degree 5 and 1. So if we go down a fourth, we would have B, and that would be a seventh. But because we have to go to the first degree, it's expanded, and so it becomes an octave to degree 1 and that's degree 4th. So there's a relationship between degree 1 and degree 4. Makes sense. Second example, figure 9, is nothing other than an inversion of the previous example, where the dux becomes the comets and vice versa, and consequently the octave AA becomes the seventh ED. Let's see this from another point of view, like if we had this as a subject, we will have degree 5 and 1, and then degree 1, so. Then degree 5 is answered by degree 1 and 5 that way, instead of, so the real answer would be that one, up an octave. But since fa, fa, mi, re, do, fa, fa, mi, re, do, fa, fa, mi, re, do, we preserve that. And so 5, 1, 1, 5, 1, 5, because here we are ending on degree 5, so we have to end on degree on degree for degree 1 A. Now my question is, why shouldn't the octave leap work? Because one could say, okay, we answer 5, 1, 1. If we, we have 5, 1, 1 with 1, 5, 5. It's true that we have a unison turned into a second, but it is something that we have found in general in music. So why not? I think that even this is a good possibility. Pum, pum, pum. It perfectly works. It perfectly works. Both can work in my opinion. Figure 10, okay, and so we completely stable. This is Muffat, A major, treble clef in the top voice, and then there's the alto clef. Let's play. Pam, por, cantor, ti, re, da, do, da, do, sol, do, re. Okay, good. Now, we are starting on degree 1 of A major, so it makes sense that the answer starts on degree 5. Then we are going down a fifth from degree 1 down to degree 4. So this descending fifth must be preserved, and that's why we have degree 1. Degree 5, da, 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 da. And that's degree 5, so we should expect a degree, we should expect a degree 1, unless it's in the middle of a section, and that's why we could have degree 5 answered by degree 2. Ta, 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 tan. And the repetition of that note, because it's in the middle of a section, I like it, makes it very nice. Let's see what he says. Despite the fact that the dux closes on the dominant E in the third bar, okay, so he's saying that the dux closes on dominant E in the third bar. The commas doesn't need to close on the dominant note, on the tonic note A. It can instead it can take instead the second degree of the tonic B, because the dux does not end with a perfect cadence and does not go into E major, but remains in A major. So what's the point? Is that this E can be understood as a part of the A major harmony, as well as this can be understood as part of the E major harmony. And so if we have the A major tonic, A major chord, it's totally fine to have, so if we have the first degree chord, it's totally fine to have the fifth degree chord. That's why we can answer with the second degree. That's why the fifth degree of a key, the fifth degree of E major is A, can be answered with the second degree of the tonic key when you have the harmony, which are respectively the first degree harmony and the fifth degree harmony. This chord and this chord. Makes sense? Okay. Good. Let's play this example again. Very nice. Very nice, very nice, very nice. And in the next video, we'll conclude the study of the subjects before passing to the exposition with this table, and then we have expositions. Yes, as you can see, longer examples. So let's continue our journey together in the next video. Bye. Couple of minutes rest. Okay, there we go, there we go, there we go. Hello Musici, let's continue our journey with Marburg together. We are at the end of this section of this chapter 3, because we're going to start chapter 4. So we have the last table to analyze. Table 17. We're talking about several subjects, miscellaneous. So the name of the section is miscellaneous fugue subjects. Let's see what's happening. Oh, example number 1 by Fuchs. Re, fa, la. Answer, re, fa, sol, fa, la. Makes sense. Re, fa, sol, fa, re. Well, why? The principle is we are on degree 1 and we have degree 5 and we are ending on degree 5. So Fuchs is saying we have degree 5. This 5th is answered by the 4th, so degree 1, and then it's ending here as a because it can work as a imperfect cadence. Here, so what we would call actually the not imperfect but suspended cadence, followed by re, fa, sol, fa, re, which makes sense because in this way it finishes on degree 1 instead of degree 2. Figure 10. No, figure 1. I have an impression. I have the impression that that we didn't read this in the previous video. But let's focus now on this subject. One moment. Figure 1, both answers are correct. The second adheres to the rule because the dominant and tonic note answer each other at the end. The first indeed contradicts the rule, but it's still correct because with imperfect cadences, the second degree of the main mode can be taken in the comments instead of the first degree as the answer to the dominant, 5th degree, so that the melody is less altered. Okay, here is more coherent to the rule, here is less coherent, but we have less alteration in the melody. Just for sake of completeness, watch the previous video about this subject, and let's read it. Despite the fact that the Dukes close on the dominant E in the third bar, the comment does not need to close on dominant A. It can instead take the second degree. Oh, no. We have read it. Okay, let's continue. Let's go on. Now, figure 2, idem, it says. Let's play. So, treble and alto clef. La, fa, la, fa, la, pa, pa, la, fa, da, da, fa. Let's say that the subject, where does it finish? And this is the point. Re, fa, da, re, la, sol, fa, mi, fa. It seems to finish here on that note. Okay. The leap AD would okay, would have been very badly imitated here according to the rule with the A. Either the DE flat, la flat, re, la, or the DF found here would have to be preceded. Either the DE flat or the DF found here would have to precede the DA. And how much would the melody thereby have suffered? So if we do, for example, ta 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 or ra ta 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 ta, the melody is suffering. Re fa la re la. It's solmization method, hexachord method. La re la. This is, and that's why it is preserved. Interesting the fact that the sol fa mi re mi, it's ending on degrees mi. And now where is the end? Because here it's like if it's ending on degree la sol fa mi fa on degree 6. On degree 6, because this is degree 6 actually, or better, it's degree 6 of D minor, but that's the flat, so it's degree 2 of A minor. Sol fa mi fa, and that's degree 3 of D minor. So degree 2 of A minor is degree 6 of D minor. So yes, could make sense, even if there is a mi contra fa according to Marburg rules, because there's a mi here and a fa at that point. Sol fa mi re mi and la sol fa mi fa, but that's another story. Next subject, let's play it. Alle fattorie, no? Mi fa sol fa, do mi sol, do fa re mi fa sol la sol fa mi. Good. So here the 5-1 lip is answered by 1-5. Then from this point we are in the dominant, and we finish with a third of the dominant, and before we are in the tonic, that's the second degree of the tonic, and we finish with the second degree of the tonic. So I see a regular imitation. There's another, okay, there's another one, idem, fa 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 sol la sol fa mi, do sol la sol re mi, do sol re, clef alto, do sol la re mi fa sol la sol fa mi. In that case it's coming back to C major, but in that case, so this would be the 5th degree, so this would be, let's say, the comes, and this the dux. Figures 3 and 4, both answers are correct. The first because it is according to our present day G major, the second because it is based itself on the mixolydian mode G. In the first case, which is organized according to G major, Kapellmeister Fuchs preferred the E, figure 4. In the first example, which is organized according to G major, Kapellmeister Fuchs preferred the E to the third note F sharp, because F sharp makes a 7th. Okay, a 7th with the first note G, and therefore sets the comments as follows: G, D, E, D, fa, fa, G, D, E, D, F, G, A, B, A, G, F, Sol, La, Sol, Do, Sol, La, Sol, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Sol, Fa, Mi. So it's saying that, okay, that's not an example here. We should have Do, Sol, La, Sol. So at least we don't have this. We don't have the 7th, but Do, Sol, La, Sol, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Sol, Fa, Mi. That. Yes, but it does not give the reason why the first and the third note cannot make a 7th against each other. Handel, in fact, began a fugue with a 7th lip between the first and second notes, as we saw in table blah blah blah. Fuchs considered all 3 possibilities. Fuchs considered all 3 possible answers in his Gradus ad Parnassum. The third example given here, written out in letter, is Fuchs' final examples. Okay, interesting. We'll read that book too, one thing at a time. Now, figure 5. Re, fa 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 mi, re mi fa, re fa da mi fa mi, re fa da mi fa mi. What's happening here? We have the dukes and the commes, so first degree up to the third degree. And I don't know if there is something which is missing in the soprano. Figure 5, let's see. Because the dukes closes with an imperfect cadence on the second degree, okay, so this is the ending. The commes imitates this on the second degree of the dominant key, which is B. Yeah, so first degree of the tonic key and first degree of the dominant keys. I mean, dominant key and tonic key. The suffix bar 2 and 3 is taken from the fugue subject itself, and has been imitated through transposition. So it's like a continuation. This occurs so that the melody is directed to a convenient note or key tone at the entrance of the third voice. The commes to this subject in figure 6 is based on the Aeolian mode and is also suitable. The commes to this subject in figure 6 is based on the Aeolian mode and is also suitable. Okay, let's see. Tan, ta, 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 ta. On the Aeolian mode, re, mi, fa. Because it keeps the solmization syllables. Mi, re, mi, fa, re, fa, sa, mi, fa, mi. Okay. And what about figure 7? It's another thing. Figure 7. Let's see. Let's play figure 7. Do, re, mi, fa, mi, re, sol, fa, re, mi, do, re, mi, do. Do, re, mi, fa, mi, do, re, mi, fa, mi. I don't see any transposition because it starts on degree 1 and then it finishes on degree 3 of the same key, and then in G major, degree 1 of G and degree 3 of G. So figure 7, this fugue subject also closes on the second degree of the tonic key. Because do, re, mi, fa, he wants to make it finish on fa, mi, re. Could even finish on E actually. I would say that finishes on E. Fa, mi, re. Indeed, there is a note. I can imagine what it's going to say. Consequently, the commes appears to move toward the second degree. Consequently, the commes appears to move toward the second degree of the dominant key. Do, re, mi, fa, mi, re, fa, mi, fa. But then, since, however, the third voice enters unexpectedly, the closing tone is broken by a chromatic progression BB flat in order to imitate the free counterpoint from the first voice. The free counterpoint from the first voice. In order, the closing tone, since, however, the third voice enters unexpectedly, the closing tone is broken by a chromatic progression BB flat in order to imitate the free counterpoint from the first voice. Okay. F sharp. It's talking about this, the free counterpoint section of the first voice. could make sense. It says one assumes the reason is that with the exception of the perfect fourth, a melody wait a moment. Yes, 195 original tonic key. Okay, no, it's not based on this. So the previous note 194. What is it? I don't see any 194. There's one. Okay. Okay. 194. One assumes the reason is that, with the exception of the perfect fourth, a melody should not apply to dissonant interval. Okay. By the way, okay, could make sense, even though fa mi could even finish on fa mi. But if we want fa mi re, fa mi re, fa mi fa fa re, fa mi re, and then it continues that way. Makes sense. So figure 8, how many? Figure 8, okay, we are here. 2 treble clefs. So dux, and we are in D minor. That's why we are moving to degree 5. The subject is starting on the third of the tonic key. The third of the tonic key. That's the 5th degree. And then it's moving toward the 6th of the tonic key. Comes. Re, mi, fa, which is a 6th of A minor. So it's an exact transposition, but the only thing which is changed is this leap, because we have 1, 5 answered by 5, 1. Okay, there's the 6th degree of the tonic key and there's the 6th degree of the dominant key, so they correspond. Yes. Figure 8. The dux begins on the 3rd degree of the tonic key. It's good to do as we are doing, because if we can say the chord things and then we can see that our explanation, our personal explanation, corresponds to Marburg's one, to Marburg's ones, it means that we are understanding everything. So the dux begins on the 3rd degree of the tonic key and closes with the 6th degree. Tac, we say in Milano. Therefore, the comes must also begin on the 3rd degree of the dominant key and close with the 6th degree of the dominant key. This has happened in the first comes. In the second comes, where the first half, so that's the second comes, okay, vel. In the second comes, where the first half is derived from the 4th of the tonic, from the 4th of the tonic. Dun, da, 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 da. So through a transposition up a 4th, it is begun with the 2nd degree of the dominant, namely B flat, instead of the 3rd degree. But both sounds tolerable, but the first kind is better with regard to both the melody and the key, in which a comes must actually appear in a 5th fugue. But the first kind is better with regard to both the melody and the key, in which a comes must actually appear in a 5th fugue, instead of the D in the downbeat of the second bar, in the D in the downbeat of the second bar of the first comes. One could also take an E without issue. Instead of the D in the downbeat of the second bar of the first comes, one can also take an E without issue, because we are in the middle, is saying that. Okay, I think that there is a mistake here, because it's not a transposition as written. Yes, that could work. Figure 9. Sol, mi, do, re, sol, mi, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, fa, mi, ut, re, mi, fa, sol, la. Perfect. So it stays in the hexachord, mi, ut, re, mi, fa, sol, la. So the fifth degree is answered by the first, and the first degree is answered by the fifth. Then in G major, degree hexachordal, degree G ut hexachord, C ut hexachord, so it's perfect. Since the dux closes on the sixth degree of the tonic key, right, of the tonic key, then it concludes, the comes finishes on the sixth degree of the dominant key. Yes. The comes closes on the sixth degree of the dominant key or the third degree of the tonic key. If one wants to make the dux into the comes and vice versa, this would end, this new dux would end with the third degree of the tonic key, which is afterwards replied with the second degree of a dominant key in the comes. Was saying, if one wants to make the dux into the comes and vice versa, so this is the dux. Then the new comes, this new dux would end with the third degree of the tonic key, which is afterwards replied to with the second degree of the dominant key, which is A. Yes. And so both can work as dux and comes without any problem. Good. Figure 10. Let's play it. Fa, mi, fa, sol, la, fa, re, sol, mi, fa, sol, la, fa, re, sol, mi. I don't see anything strange. Degree 1 is answered by degree 5. And here we are in the dominant key. Here we are in the tonic key. So here we conclude with the third degree of the tonic and third degree of the dominant, third degree of the fifth, and third degree of the first. The dux closes with the third degree of the dominant key, and the comes with the third degree of the tonic key. One can also make the dux into the comes and vice versa here. Okay, figure 11, and then we have many examples. So the last two examples, but the figure 11 have multiples. Let's see. One thing at a time. First of all, treble clef and alto clef. Re, mi, fa, sol, ta, 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 ta. It's ending on the seventh degree. That's very strange. Of course, this must be a G sharp, not an A flat. So we are starting the subject on the first degree of the tonic, and it starts on the fifth degree, on the first degree of the dominant, so makes sense of the dominant. Then one could do the, so could say, now we are ending, because there are multiple things we can do. One could say, here we are ending on the seventh degree of the tonic, and one could keep it as it is, because, and yes, at the end this is the dominant key of D minor, so we are still in D minor, and this is the dominant key of A minor, so it's working as a dominant key of A minor. It's not a G natural, it's a G sharp. So it's the seventh degree of the fifth degree. It's the seventh degree of the fifth degree. There are other things we can do. For example, I see that according to Marpurg's way of thinking, we could transform this fifth into a fourth. Or we could say, okay, this is ending with with C sharp, which is the third degree of the dominant, so we could even make it finish with the third degree of the tonic. But in order to do this, we need to write some examples, and in order to do that, we need a piece of paper. So where is that? Okay, some videos ago I made a screenshot, but I can do it again. I can take another screenshot if I cannot find it very quickly. Here it is. Let's do it. Let's take a big portion. Screenshot, copy, perfect. And then we go to this page, which is 31, and we paste it here. Why this? Because there are some examples, some other possibilities written here. So let's do block. We can even do that. Screenshot, copy, okay. And so, okay, nice. So we work here. Now, since the Dux closes with the leading tone of the tonic key, the comes ends with the leading tone of the dominant key, exactly, and thus answer 7th degree for 7th degree. This begs the question: how would it have been organized if the Dux had closed with C and consequently with the third of a scale of A, so C natural? Perhaps the corresponding comes would be as follows: A, B natural, C sharp, so let's write the comes. Possible comes number 1. So we are talking about the case where it finishes with C natural at the place of the note. With C natural would be, you see it has to finish with F. So A, A, B natural, C sharp. This way we create a connection to D. Pam, 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 pam. Then we repeat the D because we have the 5th degree, and so we need the 1st degree. So that's why at the end this is the 5th degree of the tonic, and so we have the 1st degree of the tonic, the 5-1 relationship. Pa, re, mi, fa. By doing that, we are getting rid, we are deleting the chromaticism. Mi, fa. Could work. Re, mi. How to verify if they work? Just play the comes and verify if it works with it. I mean, and play the answer, play the Dux and then the comes and see if they make sense. No, this would be too much. So okay, so that the 3rd degree would have been answered with a 3rd degree. Because, however, one can view the final tone C as a tonic is in itself, perhaps it would have been better answered with the 4th degree in the following way. So it's saying that this should be a tonic of C major. La, ti, do, re, mi, fa, fa, sol. Very strange, this extra tonic vision. So the other thing would be pam, 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 re, mi. So we don't have any more the relationship. Re, re, ta, ran, ton. In the case that, of course, this is C natural, but more than the tonic, G is a 7th degree, which is like the, this. So belonging to the harmony on the 1st degree, like a chromatic harmony on the 1st degree. So it is like if this G belongs to a chord, a 7th chord on the 1st degree. So the other C natural would belong to a chord on the first degree, more than first and 5, more than viewing this as a tonic. The leading tone of the tonic note, can otherwise be answered in the middle. The leading tone of the tonic note, so C sharp, can otherwise be answered in the middle with the third degree of the tonic in the following way, comparing C sharp with F. Dux, A, Stay, P, P. I'm not understanding what should be the point. This. The third degree, the leading tone of the tonic key, no. The leading tone of the tonic key can be answered in the middle, with the third degree of the tonic in the following way. Yes, we know this. If reversed, so let's write it, but I think it's a speculation. So if we have pam, 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 we have already seen this in one of our examples. We can answer this with pam, pam, pa, la, re, fa, re, la, re, fa, re, la. This works. It's perfect. Okay. If reversed, this third degree of the tonic would be answered with the leading tone of the same. If reversed, so the dux and the commas, re, fa, re, la, la. This third degree of the tonic could be answered with the leading tone of the same tonic. Pam, 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 pam. So it's saying dux in both cases and commas. Okay, and where is this supposed to be applied there? Pam, 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 pam. Pam. Maybe because of at the end we are doing a scale. I don't understand why the insertion of this thing. Makes sense, but I don't see it in this subject. The only point could be this one, but all this example is incomplete. But by the way, we have grasped the point, of course. Last figure. Okay, let's play the last figure, figure 12. First example, so re, re, mi, fa, re, fa, sol, la, fa, re, mi, fa. In that case, we are ending with C natural, which is the third degree of the dominant, so which is the third degree of A minor. And so we should end with F, for example. Re, mi, fa, re, fa, sol, la, fa, re, mi, fa. This is something transposed note per note. In the following example, we're ending with F. This is what I said. So let's see the explanation. I think that he would say that some of this is more Aeolian. Let's see. Because the note C, with which the dux closes, can be viewed simultaneously not only as the third of the dominant A, but also as a tonic of the key of C, but this is a concept he's introducing right now. It can be answered by both the 4th degree G and the 3rd degree F, as shown here. Re, fa, sol, la, fa, re, mi, fa. By that, we are considering this to be in A minor, and so re, mi, do, re, fa, sol, la, fa, re, mi, fa. Yes. Or the other case, re, mi, fa, re, sol, la, fa, ta, ta, ta. This could make sense if you imagine what I told you before. This part of the 1st degree harmony with a major 3rd. And so this is the 5th degree, A, and makes totally sense in the 1-5 relationship, 1st 5th degree relationship. Could make sense. Well, he says, answered with a 3rd degree. In that case, actually, we are mi, mi, fa, sol, la, re, mi, fa. It's more an answer at the 4th, because just transform this note into G and re, mi, fa. I prefer the 2nd one because re, mi, fa, it's much more interesting. But if we do re, mi, fa, re, fa, sol, la, the point is that if you're doing this and we finish with C and we want to start the subject here, A works. Re, mi, fa, sol, la, fa, re, mi. For example, yes, I don't know why is suddenly at the end taking this new explanation, is saying this new explanation, so that the 3rd degree, so that that note, the final note, can be seen as a new tonic, as a tonic of the key of C. And so it can be answered by both the 4th degree G and the 3rd degree F, as shown here. I mean, I agree with both solutions, but I don't understand what's this new topic of having another key, C major. By the way, that's the end of the 3rd section. We are ready in the next video to start the 4th section about the organization, also on the exposition and the development of a fugue subject. So see you in the next video. Bye. And the live streaming now